I believe that scissor haircuts should cost at least bare minimum of $100, and not because they take longer, but because they actually last you longer too, and it requires more decisions behind the chair. So in this video, I'm going to be breaking down the entire haircut from start to finish. You're going to watch the whole consultation live, how I control 4 to 5 months of growth, how tapering without blending everything so that way it doesn't look like crap, right? And how scissor work can actually change the head shape, the balance, and how long the haircut actually lasts. We're not going for a quick haircut here, because if you want a quick haircut, you can go down the street and get a buzz cut and call it a day, right? We're also going to get into the beard work as well, specifically how to deal with thick, wiry beards so they don't start fighting the client after a couple weeks later. This isn't a watch me cut video, so to say. This is a breakdown of why intentional scissor cuts grow out better, they last longer, and they are priced the way they are. So let's get into it. This is what, it's September, November, December, January, about four and a half months.
I think we're at about that mark. Yeah,
4.5 months.
What we did last time actually grew up really damn well.
Yeah, I was gonna say like the shape of your hair, the shape actually stayed. This is so essentially you want to keep the same style.
Yeah, it worked out pretty well. Beard didn't start bothering me until maybe 2 weeks ago. We're gonna trim that back down.
Like a good amount, or
a good amount.
Like what seems to be bothering you about your beard?
It's the extra chin, you know.
Yeah. So you don't know,
so what happens when I have to look down a lot when I'm looking in the drawers getting stuff for different customers.
Right.
And when I have to do this, it starts brushing up right here.
And it has to poke you.
Exactly. It starts getting more irritated.
Yeah, that tends to be the issue with thick, wiry beards. They're super thick, so they end up working against you instead of with you. Yeah. So I'm thinking maybe about that much off.
Yeah.
Pretty much almost like an inch. That way you can have some breathing room.
Yeah.
The thing about beards, they grow back super fast. So if you're not upkeeping yourself, it's gonna get like this, pretty much. Yeah. Liver king status. A lot of people don't believe me when I say this, but I do charge $100 for a haircut. Why do you feel like that's why do you want to pay that, pretty much?
So I've trusted you from the get-go. At first, of course, I was very skeptical. I would do super cuts, and it was $15 in and out, get a flat top, and I thought it looked good. I realized that a long time ago, I wasn't really paying for too much from them. Yeah, I had to do conversation, but
yeah, it was a haircut, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it was a generalized thing. It wasn't meant for me.
Yeah. I mean, you pretty much got your haircut and went about your day, and that was pretty much it.
Exactly.
Opposed to when you come to me, I'm actually listening to you and building on what you already have. Because if we base it off the first time, you didn't have a beard at all, actually.
Correct.
You didn't even know you had 2 cowlicks in the front right here that were sticking out. I know in the beginning we're doing a faux hawk in the beginning because of that reason.
Yep.
But now I've convinced you to let the mane grow, and it looks fantastic, in my opinion.
I like it.
Yeah, it looks good. It looks really good. On the sides, you want to do a taper still? Taper this up a little bit, or do you like the connected look like this?
Let's do the taper, because then when it does grow out, this doesn't cause any real issues. Because I'm not having any issues with this. I actually like when it starts to grow in. It's 2 weeks in where it starts to connect.
Yeah.
I really like how it looks, and then I actually can maintain that for a little while.
All right, so we'll do tape on the sides, tape at the back too as well. Take off a lot of length on the side, which actually makes your head look wider.
Yeah.
I mean, me and you have the same issue, but we both have big ass heads, right? So the more hair we have on top, the more it's just to emphasize the size of the head. So essentially, we're gonna get the illusion that it's gonna work with us instead of against us. So on top, I'll do about inch-ish, a half on the top. The sides will definitely work this too, because this is crazy, right?
Yeah.
All right, so let's get into the first portion of this tutorial. So first thing I do is I comb everything straight back and make sure the hair is wet. That way I see how the hair wants to form. For precision work, moisture matters. Dry spots will lie to you. And if you cut dry, there will be a lot of imperfections and imbalances in the haircut. Now I'm locating the roundness of his head with my comb. Your comb will naturally follow the curve. I'm mapping out the shape from the apex, which is the top of the head, back to the mastoid process, which is right behind the ear. I do that on both sides. And I'm starting by separating front from the back. Here's a pro tip. The back is always going to be the hardest to blend into the front because that's where most of the weight lives. If you don't control the weight of the back, the haircut will never connect clean. Now I'm taking vertical sections. I started by in the middle and create my first guideline. This will be the first line I create in my haircut. I don't start at the nape because I'm tapering it later, so I just leave it alone for now. When I cut into this guideline, I'm shooting the hair straight out. I'm checking my body position. Since my client's head shape is fairly round, I'm trying to do the opposite by not creating a round shape back here. I want more of a square structure throughout the whole middle so that haircut holds its shape as it grows. Once I hit the top, I release slightly, just a little, so the connection stays a little soft. Next, we move to the parietal ridge, the side panels. This is the flattest part of the head, so in my opinion, it is the easiest to control. Here I'm using diagonal sections, which is great to control longest to shortest lengths. I'm doing this with the backward graduation. I'm pulling down, working backwards by connecting the side panels into the back panel. This part is where you want to slow down. If you lose your place, just go back, find your last guideline, and just keep it clean. Then it's the same thing to the other side. I connect both of the side panels into the back. Once everything's connected, we move to the top. The top is actually the easiest part in my opinion because the structure is already pretty much set. I connect the front to the back. Because this hair has a wavy hair texture, I'm using a point cutting to maximize movement and texture without removing too much strength. You'll notice that I'm pulling straight up. I'm not contouring to his head yet. I keep it lifted and controlled, and then towards the front, I start contouring to match his head shape. And to finish, I pull the hair straight down in the front to catch any loose ends and create more of a layered effect in the front because he wants to do a 50-50 split, and we're building movement without killing the shape. Alright guys, so now let's move on to the actual taper breakdown. So since we didn't touch the neck taper earlier, the first thing I do is I use clipper over comb to remove all the bulk that sits at the base. This will shave off like 15-20 minutes off of my haircut time. This will also immediately set the foundation for the neck taper that gives me a clean starting point instead of fighting the hair later. You always want to do all the basic mechanic movements of the haircut first and leave the detailing for last. But for now, let's focus on this, which is the blend. Once that's all blended in, I move into setting the base of the taper. I start with my one blade. This sets the base for the neck taper and the sideburns. What I'm actually doing here is going the area more than once. I'm not digging, but I'm grazing the surface to set the base. This essentially is pre-blending. I'm knocking down the highest hair, so when I commit to the blend, everything connects smoother and I don't need to create harsh lines. So here's a pro tip. Before I do any real blending, I always go with my liners first. I use my wall high vis as my choice of tool. These right here, I cannot recommend these enough. I recommend these for any barber in any level of the career. These hit out the box, but back to the haircut. I line up the C-cup, I clean up the sideburns, and line up behind the ear. All this pre-work does is it shows me exactly where I need to be and where to blend instead of guessing later. In my opinion, this step saves time and keeps your taper clean. Now I start blending with my clipper all the way closed using my Babbless FXs. While I'm here, I also begin fitting the sideburn. This saves me time and also reminds me to do this. And to keep the sideburns dark and contrasty, I use the number 2 guard all the way closed and I slightly graze the area. This is how you're gonna keep these C-cups dark. You shouldn't resort to automatically going into using enhancements. Your goal should be as a barber to not use any enhancements at all. If you need to, I'm not gonna judge you, but the whole point of this is to make it look as natural as possible. Why? Because enhancements fall off, right? But you'll notice that I'm using a hard flicking motion, working with corners only. That's the key for control here. Right after that, I jump into my 1 guard all the way closed. I still use corners only. The goal here is to control contrast, not erase it. Once that blend is set, I move into the no guard to clean up the skin area. Again, corners only. Anytime I'm detailing, I'm working with corners only, no digging, no forcing. Precision here beats pressure, and you gotta have patience here, okay? You're gonna hear me say corners only more than like 40 times in this video or in this whole channel, just because that is the mecca of blending. If you don't understand that to blend, you gotta use your corners only, you're gonna have a hard time giving some nice crispy blends. All right, so let's move on to the next portion of the tutorial. If you guys are still here, please don't forget to like and subscribe and comment down below what you struggle with the most. And I comment to every single comment down below, so let's have a conversation and I'm here to help. But now let's talk about the neck lineup. So here I'm switching to my wall high vis trimmers, and the goal is simple. I'm following my client's natural growth pattern. This is one of those details that actually keeps clients coming back. If you want to get every single hair behind the ear, you want it to be as sharp and crispy as possible, but without pushing the lineup back. That's how you avoid getting people that helmet look or creating a harsh regrowth line that pops up a week later. And trust me, you'll see it. It will look clean for like about a day or two, and then I don't know where you'll have this crazy green regrowth pattern. But for reference, if you push this back too far, the regrowth in the middle will rise and look really messy fast. That's exactly what we don't want, and we're going to try to avoid. So I stay inside the natural growth pattern. Now, depending on the cowlick, sometimes you may need to slightly adjust or push up. But in this case, his growth pattern is pretty even, so there's no need to fight it. Just follow it and move on. The way I like to approach this is starting right in the middle. From there, I follow the natural line upward, working my way cleanly into the taper and meeting it in the sideburn. There's no forcing here, and there's no overcorrection, just clean, controlled, and intentional. Towards the end, if you want to clean it up, you can, but for now, let's just knock this out and then move on. So I really want to incorporate and knowledge about C-cups, because this is one of those details where you can instantly tell when they're done right and when they're actually pushed back. So pushback C-cups just don't look good. You can see it right away, and they do look sharp for the moment, but give it like 2-3 days and it's a whole different haircut. That's why a lot of people get mad. This is why a lot of people get pissed off at barbers, because they do shit like this. But the way I like to keep these looking natural is I always start from the top. I place my trimmer here, and I kind of swoop it in to meet it halfway. It's like I'm not forcing it, I'm just letting it flow. So this is just a fair rough draft. Towards the end, I'll clean it up later. What I like to do is taper down first, and once the taper is finished, that's when I can actually see where it needs more contrast, where it needs to be sharper, and where I should leave it alone, right? Because I feel like a lot of us keep going, and then by the time we realize it, it's already pushed way too high. But that's how I keep things clean without overdoing it. And these are honestly some pro tips I wish I knew when I first started cutting hair, because we're in the era where barbers jump straight into enhancements. Now, I'm not judging you guys, because I use them too, but not the way this new era of barbers are using them, because you shouldn't need them. They should only be a tool so you can use for like a photo, maybe to cover up a little bit of a thin spot or whatever. But barbers are straight up just using this as a skill trait at this point, and this is why a lot of people get upset with barbers, right? Like they go home, they wash up, and then boom, it's a different haircut. Like if I'm being honest with you guys, I didn't start using enhancements until like years into my career. Like if your C-cup is clean, natural, and sharp without enhancements, it's always gonna look better. It's always going to look better and grow out back cleaner. Let the haircut do the work and the details come last. This is the part where a lot of barbers don't like talking about, because it's not extravagant, right? It's not blending the taper or whatever. It's just basic things that most guys want to be able to do to clean their facial hair at home, or at least not feel stuck coming back every week. That's why how you trim the beard actually matters. Before I even touch the beard, I always start with the mustache. It's the easiest place to set the tone. I freehand the mustache first. I use what I call the 2D method, so whatever I can see and grab with my comb is what I'm taking off. I anchor in and I pivot out just a little. The more I pivot out, the more length I leave. The more anchor I anchor in, the more weight I take off, since I'm working with what's already there and leaving some length. Once that's set, I clean it up with my high vis, just following the lip. Nothing pushed back, nothing forced. Mustaches grow back really fast and they get annoying very quickly. So the cleaner you leave this, the longer it looks good. Now I move into the beard. He mentioned that his beard was bugging when he would look down, so we're taking about half the length off. I freehand the beard using my clipper over comb. Same was applied here. I anchor in, I pivot out. Pivot out, I leave more length. I anchor in, remove more weight. Quick pro tip, I always use a light colored comb here. Dark combs slow you down, in my opinion. A light comb lets you actually see the hair you're cutting instead of going in blind. Since we want his chin to stay heavy, that becomes the main focus point. Everything else will just blend into that. To the cheeks, I'm blending everything down into the goatee so nothing looks chopped or disconnected. This will look clean, natural, and easy to live with. Okay, so now this is where a lot of people mess up, especially barbers, under the neckline. For this part, I use my 2-finger method. I put 2 fingers on the Adam's apple, and whatever those 2 fingers covers is what I'm taking off. I do this for both sides so everything stays even. For the vertical bars, you want those as wide as possible. You don't want it to cave it in, because then it just looks round and it makes the face shape look off. That's what keeps the beard looking full instead of pinched in. When it comes to using a straight razor, I'm being very gentle here. It's a fucking knife, right? I use a mustache as my reference point. He doesn't want it too high, so that's where I start. If he wants to go lower, we could, but you can always take off more. You can't just put things back on. But beards like this that don't have a lot of density, you really want to slow down. And if you push this down way too much, you're gonna see it right away. It's gonna look like a strap, like a chin strap, opposed to actual beard. Quick pro tip with straight razors, always use a clear shave gel so you can actually see what you're cutting. And when you're shaving, you want to pull on the skin the opposite direction when you're shaving, not tugging crazy, just enough tension. Use as much pressure as your clients can handle, and this actually helps to reduce irritation. So I'm very thorough when it comes to styling, and I really want to show you guys my process when it comes to styling. So now we move on to the actual portion that I really like doing is styling. So obviously I can't style the hair soaking wet, so I just dampen the hair, not dripping, not just running down his face, enough to activate the actual styling product. I like using Fat Boy styling cream as my base. Since his hair already has a good hold, we did a lot of scissor work. I don't need too much. About a nickel size is suffice. I apply to the ends and roots. Then I blow dry the hair backwards. I mainly focus on the sides because that's where I want the control. The top, I want loose, more of a natural brush back look that just sits right. To finish off, I use a little texturizing spray just to lock things in, to not make it too stiff. And that's it, guys. This is the before, this is the after. And this is why I believe scissor haircuts should actually cost more, not just because of the technique, but because they last longer. And if I'm being honest with you, I don't see Mikael for about 6 to 8 weeks, sometimes even longer. Yes, you're paying more, but that's almost 2 months off one more haircut. If you made it to the end, I really appreciate you, and let me know if what stood out to you the most, and if there's anything that you want me to cover in the next tutorial, I will do it. So I'll see you there.